My name is Jan Christensen, and I'm pleased to be here today. Um, I always love an opportunity to kind of speak and share the things that I have seen. Um, for a lot of people, it can give them some peace of mind, kind of hearing experiences that are taken a little further than from here on earth, giving us an opportunity to understand more of the fact that we are spirits having a human experience. I think that's so significant for as many people as possible to understand. It can change your life for sure. So, in my experience, what happened is I was at work and um, I'm here in Canada, so we have some pretty brisk winter weather. And on this particular day, um, I was a nurse, a community nurse at the time, and I slipped on ice, which shouldn't be a big deal, catch yourself and carry on. However, in this particular case, I slipped on ice and tried to kind of catch myself and right myself from falling back. I thought, oh, I'm going to hurt my back. And as I tried to catch myself, I just got my feet wound up more and more until my feet shot straight up in the air and I came down on the top of my head. Um, I immediately went unconscious because I don't remember a thing from when I came down and landed on the ground. And in that experience, everything suddenly I was just in darkness. Everything around me was just dark. However, I could still see. I could see without my human eyes. So it was an internal experience of um, just going unconscious and then what I call into a state of just being in me-ness or I-ness, people often call it. So I could see with my eyes and I could still hear, even though I wasn't conscious in my human body. And I had a feeling of, where am I? And then there was this understanding of, oh, I'm here. Like I knew where I was. And so I wasn't afraid. I was just kind of looking around and it was very quiet, the kind of peacefulness that you get when you're just completely aware of yourself spiritually. And then suddenly I had this feeling of release from my body. So it was a feeling of just like the air coming out of a balloon. It just immediately, the denseness of my body disappeared and the energy of me just flowed out of my body in this experience. And what happened next was I was aware of just this feeling of floating, just a gentle floating, sort of like a peaceful water would be, just gently floating. The only feeling I had that rose up was feeling of pure love. It was the most exquisite feeling. And I do feel that same feeling when I'm here on earth, just fraction of it compared to what I felt out there. The feeling was so strong and so perfect. So the density of my body was gone, and I just floated gently in this rhythm and felt perfect love. And then the next thing that happened was I just expanded in every direction. I'd lost the density of my body. I was floating, feeling this perfect love. And then there was this expansion. I just moved in every direction. And there was no feeling of a beginning of me or an end. I just became everything. And all of this is hard to kind of fathom in our human experience. But if you go inside and you just kind of gently allow yourself to hear the words, you can have your own feeling of this experience. And that is basically coming in touch with yourself, your pure self in spirit, in soul, who you truly are, who we truly are. Because what it gave me was an understanding that here in our human body, we have this soul with us. And when we have a near death experience and this soul leaves, it goes up to a magnificent place where everything is perfect. And this feeling of pure love is who we all are at our core all the time. When we're here on earth, we're just oblivious to it until we're not anymore. So the experience of being out there and floating and feeling this pure love, the thought that I had was, I need nothing else. There is absolutely nothing else that could make this more perfect or that I could have any need for. And that was pure magic, pure miracles to me. I thought I could just stay here forever feeling like this and it would be fine. So I guess that is in eternity, is what it showed me, that this piece of us is so perfect. And it's all energy, right? Our soul, our spirit, in formlessness, this piece of me that floated out there is energy. And that's all there is, energy. So here on earth, in our body is our vessel and it's energy in form. And when we leave that and go out there and float, we become the formless energy. We become the perfect piece of who we are, which is, in my way of thinking, our piece of God. And so when we go out there, we become everything. We become the God that we are inside, connected to everything else. So if we bring that back to who we are as humans, we're still that inside. We're energy and we're connected to one another in a perfect oneness because that energy has no beginning and no end. It floats. It's between us. It's between you and me. It's between me and everything. It's between you and everything. The connection is perfect and it's there all the time. It's just that nobody told us this. We didn't know. And so when we come to understand this, it can be very life-changing in so many ways. And then suddenly this thought came in of, what about your daughters? And I thought, my daughters still need me. And with that thought, I came right back into my body, into the density. The energy of me came right back inside of me. And so I have no idea exactly how long this lasted because it was completely timeless, completely no form to it. So it was the most wonderful thing I think I could ever have experienced. And even with that, I wasn't afraid to come back to do more of what I needed to do, which I think is pretty cool too. Because as humans, we think, well, if we're in a perfect place, we're probably going to choose to stay there. And maybe if it had been truly my time, I would have stayed there as well. I guess it wasn't purely and truly my time. I had a wonderful experience and I came back because I knew there was more for me to do. So in that feeling of coming back into my body, I immediately felt the density again. I didn't feel any of the experience of what I was going through in my humanness, which was a lot of pain. I was in a lot of discomfort and I had injured myself quite severely. I had a lot to contend with when my soul came back into my body and I was a spirit having a human experience again. But, you know, even though it seems like something, at the time I thought it was an absolutely devastating experience, and I wasn't sure how I was going to make it through, and how um, I was going to find the strength to be healthy again in my human body. Um, Even though that feeling was present then, I now look at it very differently. I look back at it as quite a magical experience, the miracle that happened in my life that changed everything and brought me to a whole new understanding of who I am and how I am here on earth. It just gives me such faith and such hope and such perfect um, understanding from where I sit of what is going on and what can happen for any human being that decides that it's time for them to change things in their life. So I don't think you have to have a near-death experience to decide to change your life. And I don't think you have to have a near-death experience to understand where your loved ones go, the pain of that, the suffering that people go through. Um, I think that so much can be just settled for us in understanding. Maybe what I've gone through will be helpful for some people to settle a lot of the things that are tormenting them inside. Because we are truly meant to be here and have an experience of joy. That is absolutely what is the hope for us when we come here. Now, that's not to say that everyone is meant to come here and have a perfect experience where nothing goes wrong, because as humans, that is apparently not at this time what is meant to happen. I think that we will evolve to that, but I think that we are humans here, and because we have free will, we can choose to do things that maybe aren't in our best interest, maybe are going to cause us pain, but we will grow from them. So it's never a bad thing when our free will takes us to a decision that is not in our best interest, because the fact that we can grow from it is the wonderful thing about being human. I don't think anything can ever happen, any choice can ever be made that can't be undone, that you can't grow from and move on from. So that too is full of hope, and it's full of understanding for yourself and compassion for yourself. So if we go back to the thought, we're meant to come here and experience joy and love, that we are pure love at the core. Every one of us is pure love at the core of who we are. We can then take our thoughts in a different direction. You see, most human beings are here and they're so lost in their thinking. They're so lost in the thoughts that go on in their brain. They're just kind of led by the nose here and there, doing this and that. There's such a different way to live, such a different way to experience life here and now. And that is starting with realizing that you don't have to believe the thoughts that roll into your head. Thoughts are also what? Energy, because everything is energy. So the thoughts that roll through your head that cause you turmoil or torment, you don't have to believe them. You don't have to go down a path of a thought that makes you completely miserable. And there are many ways of dealing with this. Some people just believe that you can turn away from the thought and have another thought and go in a different direction. And that's fine, because for every human being, there is a way that works best for them. And so I cannot sit here and say that I have all the answers for every other human being. But what I do have is I have some suggestions for things that you can do to make living here in your time on earth whole lot more expansive, a whole lot more loving, and a whole lot more compassionate. I think those are the words that I most want people to understand, that we don't have to live in terror and torment and fear. There are things we can do, and you don't have to have the near-death experience to understand this. There are things we can do to lead us to a much more peaceful life. I think the first thing that I always like to tell people is learn forgiveness, because forgiveness is such a key factor in finding peace in your life. As long as you have something festering inside you that you feel like you have to make right, that you feel like maybe you have to do something to make someone else pay for what they've done for you, that is a very, very difficult and very destructive way to live. You don't ever have to do that. You don't have to make things right about situations that have happened to you. You can forgive the other person. That doesn't mean that you take their behavior and you say your behavior was fine. No, you don't have to do that. But forgiving them as a human being is so helpful, because it allows you to stop festering inside with the poison of hate. Because as long as we're festering with wounds inside that are hateful, we will be miserable. We will be trying to settle scores. And that is misery. So you forgive people and you move on from it. You learn from it, and you maybe don't make them your best friend, but you forgive them. And in doing that, you allow room for more positive energy to move inside you and negative energy to move out of you. I think because we are energy, that it is all about that, plain and simply. Yes, I believe that we're pure love. And yes, I believe that we're meant to be here in joy. But I think that the energy that we harbor inside of us is what causes disease and what causes us to have sort of a poisoned view of our life. And as long as we have that, then our life will be a poisoned experience. So if we think of ourselves as pure energy, and we think of ourselves as getting rid of energy that is, and I want to say of a darker nature, but that's not really the road I want to go down, because when people start to think about like light and dark energy, they get afraid. There's nothing to fear about or of the energy. What is to fear is thoughts that you need to fear it. So get rid of those thoughts. You don't need to fear it, but you do need to acknowledge negative or lower consciousness energy that may have settled inside you, which is basically thoughts that have given you some blocked energy. So that's pretty simple. That's pretty straightforward. We talked about forgiveness. That's getting rid of energy inside of you that is of a lower consciousness. You begin with forgiveness, and you recognize that you are shifting into a higher consciousness, which is higher thoughts, and you get rid of energy that is of a lower nature, and you make room for energy that is higher inside of you. That's easy, and that's beautiful, and that takes you to closer to and more in touch with the pure love that you are inside. I'm always aware of the spirit inside me. You see, the spirit inside you has a feeling, personal perfume, personal essence of who you are. And when you feel that feeling, which is, as I explained to you, what I felt out there and what I feel here, it is so grounding and so settling, because you know that it's true. When I think the most difficult thing for people, and even for myself, was believing that this is true. It is true. We are spirits having a human experience. And so when you when you completely take that into your core and understand that this is true, that you are a perfect individual at your core, in your soul, in your spirit, then you begin to radiate this energy, and it affects everything around you all the time, every day. And that's just a truth for everyone. Everyone's energy affects everyone around them every day. When you understand the energy and you feel the energy and you work with the energy, then it changes everything. So it has changed how I live. It has changed how the people around me live, because they can't help but be affected by it. You see, we're so much more powerful than we have any idea about. The power that we have inside is so magnificent and full of so many miracles that are here every day, all the time, if we just take time to look around.